Hey everybody, Trevor Lane, senior writer for LakersNation.com. Today we're going to be talking about Julius Randle. He's going to be a restricted free agent in just a few weeks. When that clock strikes midnight on July 1st, Randle will be a free agent and the Lakers will have the opportunity to match any offer. He's in that situation because the Lakers did decline to give him a contract extension last year. They could have locked him up for right around $12 million per season starting, and they opted not to do so, instead preferring to have their flexibility to chase guys like LeBron James and Paul George. Randle then had a breakout 2017-2018 season, so he's probably going to cost more than that $12 million that they could have locked him up for, but again, that's the price of flexibility. So what I'm going to do today is make the case for why the Lakers should hang on to Julius Randle. And in order to really do that, we need to hop in the DeLorean and go back to the year 2014, because that's when Julius Randle was drafted by the Lakers with the 7th overall pick out of Kentucky. So when Randle came into the NBA draft, there were 3 issues that people had with his game. Okay, 3 issues. And the first one was his short wingspan. He doesn't have super long arms. He's not a Brandon Ingram type. And this makes it a little bit more difficult for him to get a shot off in the paint, and makes it a little more difficult for him to protect the rim. That's one issue. Second issue, his jumper. He doesn't have a good jump shot. He relied on his strength, his athleticism to bully teams inside in Kentucky and during his high school career. So there were concerns that if he didn't have a jumper and he struggled to get his shot off over the super long-limbed defenders in the NBA, then he was going to have a really tough time. He was just not going to be an efficient scorer. And the third one was his defense, that he's not able to really protect the rim. He can be sometimes a little lackadaisical, a little absent-minded defensively, and that these issues would prevent him from becoming a good NBA defender. So those 3 things were the problems coming into the NBA. A lot of people saw him as something of a throwback player, a dinosaur type, like an Anthony Mason type player who does all of his damage in the paint, but doesn't provide the floor spacing or the defense that modern NBA teams are looking for. Now, fast forward again, hop back in that DeLorean, get it up to 88 miles per hour, and get to last season, 2017-2018, and Randle is suddenly a breakout player. He is having a career season. He's turning heads left and right. He is dunking all over people. He was arguably, and I don't know if it's even much of an argument, the Lakers' best player last season. So what happened? Going back to those 3 issues that he had, they didn't really change all that much. At least 2 of them didn't. The short wingspan, there's nothing he can do about that. He's not Reed Richards. He can't magically make his arms grow any longer. So he still has that problem. Long-limbed defenders can still bother him a little bit. He isn't a great rim protector. He's not going to be blocking shots like Rudy Gobert or anything like that. So that's still an issue. His jumper hasn't really come around. If you look at his stats, his jumper has gotten better. It's gotten a little better, but it's not improved to the point where he is a solid jump shooter or anything. I'm looking at his stats right now from 3 feet to 10 feet. So that little mid-range game just outside the basket. In his first true pro season, remember his rookie year got wiped out by an injury. His first true pro season, 2015-2016, Julius Randle, 3 to 10 feet from the basket, shot 36%. The next season, 37%. Last season, he shot 39%. So it's slowly going up. His percentages are improving a little bit, but not that much. In fact, his 3-point percentage even dropped last season. He only shot 22% from 3 last season after shooting 27% the season before and 28% the season before that. So his 3-point percentage is actually going down as his career moves on. So his jumper has not developed the way teams would prefer to see it happen. So he still has a short wingspan, or relatively short wingspan by NBA standards. He still has some issues with that jumper, so he's not stretching the floor. So how in the heck did Julius Randle become such a good player last season to where he was a net positive on the floor for the Lakers? He was the kind of guy that you could count on to go out there and drive the team every single night. Here's how he did it. Julius Randle last season became ridiculously efficient scoring at the rim. He figured out how to get his shot off over those long limb NBA defenders and make it at a high clip. When he was in his de facto rookie season, at the rim, he only shot 57%. Not great. Last season, that number went all the way up to 73%. Julius Randle was unstoppable in the paint last season. He used his quickness, he used his strength to overpower weaker defenders and go around slower ones. He figured out ways to get his shot off and made it at a high rate. He also figured out that he needed to get himself to the free throw line more often, and that was going to get him easier scoring opportunities. In 2016-2017, per 100 possessions, by the way, these stats come from basketballreference.com. I like to go per 100 possessions because that cuts down the Lakers' pace factor so we can compare apples to apples. So we're not looking at just a high counting stat because the Lakers had so many more possessions last season. They went at a super fast pace. So in 2016-2017, Randle shot 6.4 free throws per game. In 2017-2018, that number shot all the way up to 9.3. Yes, his usage rate was higher, but Julius Randle was finding ways to get himself to the free throw line much more often than ever before as well. So that's making him a more efficient scorer on top of his improved percentage around the basket. So his jumper is still a problem, but he has just gotten so good at figuring out other ways to score, either at the rim or at the free throw line, that it's somewhat mitigated that jump shot issue. Now, on the defensive end, still doesn't have those long limbs that you'd like to have, but he got himself into insane shape in 17-18, or in the summer of 2017, he got himself into insane shape. It made him lighter. He was absolutely shredded heading into the season, started working out with a new trainer, changed his nutrition. I mean, some people raise their eyebrows at that. They say, you know what, he should have been doing that the entire time, right? He should have always been in that kind of shape. Easy to say, much more difficult to do, and sometimes it takes guys a little while to realize just how big of a factor nutrition plays in their overall performance. So Julius Randle finally got that nutrition piece, got in with the new trainer, came in absolutely shredded, and because of that, he was lighter, he was more agile, and yet he still retained his strength. So Randle saw minutes at center because he was now able to actually protect the rim a little bit. He was getting up off the floor much higher than he had in previous seasons. So he could protect the rim even though his wingspan isn't that long. He also had the ability to switch out onto guards, which allowed the Lakers, whenever Randle was at center, to switch everything in pick and roll. So Randle could switch onto guards at least temporarily and do more than hold his own. I vividly remember seeing plays where he switched onto Damian Lillard and stuck with him. There are very, very, very few big men in the NBA who can do that. So Randle defensively became a whole new player. Because he was in such great shape, Randle became a plus defender nearly everywhere on the floor, including at the rim, despite his shorter arms. No, he's not Rudy Gobert. He's not blocking shots all over the place or anything like that. He's not a huge deterrent at the rim, but he was a deterrent. So when you add that up to his new offensive efficiency, he becomes a much more effective player. So it was those two areas that truly allowed Julius Randle to really make the leap last season. His defense and his scoring efficiency. He managed to overcome his deficiencies last season by just getting ridiculously good at some of the things that he can control. Now, long term, his jumper does need to come around. But here's the thing. There are two reasons why the Lakers need to bring him back. Two. His skill set is number one. Skill set is so important in the NBA. In the modern NBA, you need guys who can do everything. You need versatile players who can put the ball on the floor when need be, who can make the correct pass when need be, who can play defense, who can do all these different things. And that is Julius Randle. He can rebound and go. He can push the ball in transition on his own. He can play alongside guards. He can act as a point forward. He can also make the right read when he gets into the paint. He does still pick up offensive fouls from time to time, but you know what? He is the kind of guy that can really run your offense from the power forward position in a pinch. And that's really important for this Lakers team. Yes, it would be great if he had a jumper, but for right now, his skill set is very similar to that playmaking forward. We think of the Draymond Green style power forward. That's Julius Randle's skill set because he has some guard-like abilities, but still has the strength and the power to play inside. That is invaluable in the modern NBA, having a wing or a power forward who can do that, even sometimes playing that center position in a small ball lineup. So that skill set's extremely important. And the second reason why the Lakers should bring him back is his age. Julius Randle's 23 years old. 23! He's a kid. And a lot of people don't realize this. They don't realize how young he is because he is the longest tenured Laker. He's been with the team longer than anyone else because everyone else, like D'Angelo Russell, Larry Nance Jr., Jordan Clarkson, all these guys have been traded away by Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka as they're looking to build a new roster. So no one has been a Laker longer than Julius Randle at this point, but he's still just 23 years old. In fact, he will still be 23 when next season starts. So think about that. Think about the potential that he's got. What does Julius Randle look like if his jumper continues to improve incrementally, even though it's been going slow? What if you suddenly add a jumper to that, let's say in 2 years? Let's say in 2 years, Julius Randle finally gets his jumper to come around. Then what do you have if he's able to keep himself in the kind of physical condition he was in last season? You've got a plus defender who can also spread the floor a little bit, who can also attack the paint, who is also a load to deal with on the boards. That is a really good player. Julius Randle, perhaps the most exciting thing about him is how young he is and how much potential he has for the future. Are we talking about a superstar player here? Probably not. He has just enough deficiencies in his game, in his physical profile, that we're probably not talking about a superstar. But all-star isn't out of the question. And I don't think anybody would have been saying that 2 years ago. But after what he showed in the 17-18 season, he could certainly find himself on an all-star team if he continues growing at this rate. With this young Lakers team, you've got guys who are barely 20. You've got Brandon Ingram. You've got Lonzo Ball. You've got Kyle Kuzma as a young player, Josh Hart. All these players that are younger, Julius Randle fits right with them, and he is right on their timeline. So even if you land LeBron James, even if you land Paul George, the Lakers need to do what they can to try to bring Julius Randle back into the fold because he allows the team to grow together. He allows them to keep that chemistry that they had developed last season. This is a guy who cares about the team. This is a guy who wants to win. This is a guy who's been in the organization longer than anyone else at this point. And that's something that needs to continue. Even though a lot of other young players that weren't drafted by Magic and Pelinka have been moved on, Randle is a guy that they should try to hang on to. Again, not going to be easy. If they are able to sign Paul George and LeBron James, then it probably means Randle would be gone unless they can find someone to take Luol Deng's contract without sending any salary back. And even then, it would be really, really tough. I think the one thing they have going for them is that if you're LeBron James, if you're Paul George, and you look at this Lakers team, you're telling them that you want to play with Julius Randle because he was their guy last season. He and Brandon Ingram were probably the two best players on the team, and I think Randle was probably the top guy. So that was would be a huge pull factor to come to the Lakers in order to play along with a monster like Julius Randle. That's going to wrap things up for today. Don't forget to head over to LakersNation.com for all the latest breaking Lakers news. My name is Trevor Lane. You can follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. See ya.